Today's lesson is, are you washing your nets? It's the word for you today, and it's Friday, March the 20th. In Luke chapter 5, verse 2, it tells about Jesus. Jesus saw at the water's edge two boats left there by the fishermen who were washing their nets. So you've got Jesus. He's at the bank of the Sea of Galilee, Sea of Tiberias, however you wanted to call it. And people are starting to crowd around and crowd in. And these fishermen have been fishing all night, and their boats are pulled up there by the shore, and they're washing their nets. And he gets in the boat and asks them to put out a little ways. Why? Crowd is starting to gather, and voices travel over water better than they do over land. And so he's using this as a platform to be able to speak to a number of people. Why did God happen to use those boats? And we know later they were Peter and Andrew's boats. James and John were there. And it causes us to think, who does God choose to use and who does he choose not to use? Well, who does God choose not to use? Well, in 1 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 26, he tells us. Paul is speaking. He says, "Brothers, think of what you were when you were called. Not many of you were wise by human standards. Not many were influential. Not many were of noble birth." Who are those God sometimes chooses not to use? Wise by human standards. The know-it-alls, the ones who are admired by the world. He can use them. Oftentimes he doesn't. The influential, those that are strong physically, very talented, the top of their field. Oftentimes he doesn't use them. And then of noble birth, wealthy family backgrounds, prestigious, people who seem to have it all. Can God use them? Oh, yes, God can use anybody, and he has used them. But it seems like there's another group that God tends to use more. And who is that? Well, in 1 Corinthians 1, after verse 26 comes 27 and 28. And Paul says, "But God chose the foolish things of the world to shame the wise. God chose the weak things of the world to shame the strong. He chose the lowly things of this world and the despised things and the things that are not to nullify the things that are." Isn't it interesting? You go through the Bible, look and see who God chose to use. Oftentimes he used foolish things, things that the world didn't understand. John the Baptist, they thought he was crazy out there. The religious leaders did, but people flocked out to see him. He chose to use the weak, people that were looked down on as not good enough. Many of the prophets were looked down on by other people. The lowly, those who have no support from family or friends, those that society doesn't seem to care about. God will take somebody and he will use them in an incredible way. The despised, those who have been rejected. Everybody says this person doesn't amount to anything, and God takes them and he does the most incredible thing. Think of Jesus. He came from Nazareth, a lowly town. He had nothing, no material possessions on earth, yet he turned the world upside down. And then things that are not, those who have no hope. Do you feel like you're one of the foolish things, the weak, the lowly, the despised, things that are not? Do you ever feel like you're one of those? You're in good company, because a lot of the people that God used fit in that area. Why does he do that? It seems backwards. It seems like you would pick those who are most recognized, you would seem that they would be most qualified because they had more going for them. But why does God tend to use those that don't seem to be able to do it and uses them and accomplishes incredible things through them? Because God is going to receive the glory. And if you take a very talented, very intelligent person and God does something marvelous through them, everybody goes, well, of course, that person is very good. But then you take uneducated fishermen, like many of the disciples, and they teach and speak like nobody else. And then you realize that is God at work. That's not those fishermen. That is God at work. And he does the same thing today. He does the very same thing today. God will take something that doesn't seem like it's usable and use it. at home, we have this it's sponge on one side and kind of rough on the outside for the other side to scrape off stuff off of plates and all. But when you go to wipe off the table and you go to pick up that sponge, it's hard, it's kind of crusty, and it doesn't do a good job of wiping off the table. But you put some water on it, it softens up, and then it's really good. You can wipe the stuff off the table and get the table clean rather than just glossing over it. Well, see, we're oftentimes like that sponge. The water that softens the sponge and makes it usable, the Holy Spirit comes into us and makes us usable and helps us who at one time were not very usable at all to be very usable. Are you washing your nets? Are you available? The fishermen were available for Jesus to use. Let me ask you, are you available for God to use? Can he put some of his water, his Holy Spirit on you and help you to do things that you couldn't do in yourself? Have a good day.